There are 138 pyramids in Egypt. Scientists have measured them, scanned them, and crawled through every passage for 200 years. Most people assumed the big questions were settled. Then Grok AI pulled every verified measurement, every confirmed anomaly, and every unexplained data point into one analysis at the same time. Not one detail in isolation, all of it together. What came back wasn't clean. A hidden corridor confirmed inside the Great Pyramid in 2023 that no one knew existed. Alignment. Precision that took particle physicists to explain. Granite hauled from 900 kilometers away, fitted so tightly a sheet of paper won't pass between the joints. And a 4,500-year-old diary, written by a man who was there, sitting in the Cairo Museum right now. Here is what the data actually shows. The scale problem. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2560 BCE under Pharaoh Khufu of the 4th dynasty. It rises 146.6 meters over a base that stretches 230 meters per side and contains approximately 2.3 million stone blocks, weighing 6 million tons in total. To make that real, the structure held the record for the tallest thing humans ever built for more than 3,700 years. Nothing came close until medieval stone cathedrals appeared in Europe. The Eiffel Tower was not built until 1889. The Great Pyramid was already ancient, before most of recorded history began. When the ancient Greeks were building the Parthenon, the pyramid they were marveling at had already been standing for 2,000 years. When Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt, the pyramids were already older to him than the Roman Empire is to us today. The pace of construction is where the problem starts. A 2026 study published in the peer-reviewed journal NPJ Heritage Science ran computational simulations on the logistics of building the Great Pyramid within Khufu's reign, estimated at roughly 27 years. The math produces one number. To finish on time, the builders had to place approximately one block every 3 minutes on average across the entire project. Every day. For decades. That is not a number invented by fringe writers. That is what you get when you divide 2.3 million blocks by the total working minutes available across the construction window. The researchers ran parametric computer models and produced a median construction duration of 13.8 to 20.6 years, consistent with the historical record. The math works. How they sustained that pace with the tools available is still treated as unresolved in engineering literature. No complete construction method has been confirmed with physical evidence. Multiple competing theories exist, each explaining part of the process and none accounting for all of it. A 2025 study in the same journal proposed a pulley and counterweight system using granite counterweights and internal shafts to lift the heaviest blocks. It fits parts of the data. It does not explain all of it either. The material choices add a separate layer. The majority of the structure is local limestone from the Giza Plateau. But the king's chamber at the heart of the pyramid is built from a completely different material. The ceiling alone is 9 massive granite slabs with a combined weight of approximately 400 tons. Those blocks did not come from Giza. They came from Aswan, 900 kilometers south, traveled down the Nile by boat, moved overland on sledges, and were placed at the geometric center of a 6 million-ton structure with a fit so precise a sheet of paper cannot pass between the joints. Above those 9 slabs sit 5 additional hidden chambers that distribute the weight of the pyramid overhead and prevent the room below from collapsing. Those chambers were discovered in 1837 and contain the quarry marks that first confirmed Khufu's name on the structure. The only object found inside the king's chamber today is a plain red granite sarcophagus with no lid, no inscriptions, and no mummy. No burial goods, no body. Whether Khufu was ever actually placed inside it remains an open question in Egyptology. The chamber was built to receive it during construction because the sarcophagus is wider than the ascending passage that leads into the room. It had to go in before the ceiling went on. Whatever was meant to happen in that room, the stone box went in first, and the mountain of stone was built around it. The scale tells you this operation was organized at a level most ancient societies never reached. The precision tells you something else entirely. And that precision question leads directly into one of the strangest confirmed facts in all of Egyptology, one no written Egyptian document has ever fully explained. The alignment that has no explanation. Every major pyramid built during Egypt's 4th dynasty faces the cardinal directions: north, south, east, west. All of them. Across decades of separate construction projects, separate pharaohs, and separate teams of workers on different sides of the country, this was not approximate. Archaeologist and engineer Glenn Dash published a study in the Journal of Ancient Egyptian Architecture measuring the Great Pyramid's orientation to the cardinal points at an accuracy of better than 4 minutes of arc. That is 1/15 of 1 degree. A structure containing 2.3 million stone blocks and weighing 6 million tons is pointed at true north to a precision of 1 millimeter per meter. Modern GPS-assisted construction equipment works at roughly similar tolerances. That equipment runs on a network of satellites. The Egyptians had none of that. It gets stranger. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Pyramid of Khafra next to it, and the Red Pyramid at Dashur, built by Khufu's father Snefru, are all off from true north by approximately the same amount, and all rotated slightly in the same counterclockwise direction. 3 separate pyramids, built decades apart. Same tiny deviation, same direction. That is not a construction error. It is a signature. It means all 3 structures were built using the same astronomical alignment method and the slow drift of Earth's axis over time, a process called precession, shifted the celestial reference point by a consistent amount between each build. Egyptologist Karen Spence of Cambridge University demonstrated that using 2 specific circumpolar stars, Kochab and Mizar, to establish a north reference in the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE would produce exactly this pattern of deviation as the stars slowly drifted year by year. Different pharaohs, different construction crews. Same method, same measurable drift across generations. The Egyptians had no compass. They were reading the rotation of stars around the celestial pole at night, marking the midpoint of that arc, and using it to establish true north before a single foundation stone was laid. They achieved 1 millimeter per meter accuracy on a footprint the size of several city blocks, consistently, across multiple massive structures, built over multiple generations. What makes this harder to dismiss is what the alignment method required in practice. The builders needed to observe the same two stars on clear nights over an extended period, establish a precise midpoint in their rotation around the pole, transfer that bearing to the ground using plumb lines and sighting instruments, and hold that bearing steady across a construction footprint 230 meters wide, all before a single block was placed. The method had to work the first time because there was no correcting a base that size once construction had begun. They got it right every time across multiple separate projects spanning generations. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this analysis, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel tremendously. No written description of this method survives in any Egyptian text. The pyramids themselves are the only record of it. The alignment data tells you that whoever designed these structures had working knowledge of practical astronomy at a level researchers are still fully documenting today. The outside of the pyramid held that secret for centuries. The inside had been holding a completely different one, and it took a technology built to detect the remnants of exploding stars to finally pull it out of the stone. What cosmic rays found inside? In 2015, an international research team launched the Scan Pyramids project under Cairo University and France's HIP Institute. Their rule from the start was non-invasive. No drilling, no tunneling. Image everything first. Cut nothing. They would study the pyramid the way a doctor reads a scan before ever picking up a scalpel. The technology is called muon radiography. Cosmic rays from space constantly strike Earth's atmosphere and produce subatomic particles called muons. Muons pass through dense material like stone, but denser material absorbs more of them. By placing detectors inside the pyramid's known chambers and measuring how many muons arrived from each direction, the team could map the internal density of the entire structure without touching a single block. A hidden void would show up as a zone where more muons passed through than the surrounding stone should allow. In 2017, Scan Pyramids published their first major result in the journal Nature. The detectors had found two voids. One was a large cavity above the Grand Gallery, the tall ascending passage that leads toward the king's chamber. It was more than 30 meters long. It had never appeared on any interior map of the pyramid across more than 2 centuries of Egyptological study. The second was a smaller anomaly hidden behind a decorative chevron structure on the pyramid's north face. Nobody had known about either one. Their existence was now confirmed. Their purpose was not. In March 2023, the team published again in Nature Communications. 3 additional non-destructive imaging techniques were added: ground-penetrating radar, ultrasonic testing, and electrical resistivity tomography. Each method sees the pyramid differently. Together, they produced a detailed picture of the north face anomaly. It was now fully characterized as a corridor 9 meters long, approximately 2 meters wide and 2 meters tall, running just behind the exterior face of the pyramid. The team inserted a small endoscope through a narrow gap between blocks and photographed the interior. What appeared on screen was a vaulted stone corridor that no human being had seen since the pyramid was sealed roughly 4,500 years ago. Egyptian authorities described it as the most important discovery of the 21st century. The purpose of the North Face corridor is still officially unknown. The purpose of the large void above the Grand Gallery is also still officially unknown. What the latest computational engineering models suggest is that both voids may be structural remnants of the internal ramp system used during construction, sealed inside the pyramid as the outer limestone casing was applied. The geometry of the hidden spaces corresponds with ramp path predictions from the 2026 NPJ Heritage Science Simulation Study. If that interpretation holds, the pyramid contains a frozen record of its own construction method locked inside the stone, invisible until physics gave researchers the right tool to see it. That explanation makes structural sense and still does not answer the bigger question. It tells you there was a ramp. It does not tell you who was hauling the stone up it, under what conditions, and how the workforce was organized well enough to sustain this pace for decades. A document written 4,500 years ago answered that question more directly than any scan ever could. The oldest diary in the world. In 2013, a French archaeological team, led by Pierre Tallet of Paris Sorbonne University, was excavating Wadi al-Jarf, a remote harbor site on Egypt's Red Sea coast. Inside carved limestone caves originally used to store boats, buried between two large stones at the entrance to one of the galleries, they found papyrus scrolls tied with string. Guinness World Records officially confirmed these as the oldest inscribed papyrus documents ever found in Egypt. They date to approximately 2570 BCE, the final years of Pharaoh Khufu's reign. The author identified himself as Inspector Merer, a middle-ranking government official responsible for a crew of roughly 200 men. His notes were not written for posterity. They were a working logistics log, the ancient equivalent of a project manager's daily report filed and forgotten in a storage cave. Merer's diary records the transportation of white limestone casing blocks from the quarries at Tura, south of modern Cairo, to the construction site at Giza. His team moved the blocks by boat on the Nile. The diary records trip durations, cargo quantities, crew assignments, and supply receipts. It names specific officials, specific staging locations, and specific dates written in the regnal calendar of Khufu's reign. One entry names the pyramid by its original Egyptian title, Akhet Khufu, meaning Horizon of Khufu. Another records Merer reporting to a man named Ankh-Haf, identified as Khufu's half-brother, and the director of a harbor staging facility near the pyramid complex. This was the first time any person beyond Khufu himself was identified in the historical record as managing specific construction activity on the Great Pyramid. The diary ended the slave narrative for good. The Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt around 450 BCE, roughly 2,100 years after the pyramids were built, and recorded a local account claiming 100,000 slaves constructed the Great Pyramid in 20 years. That story dominated Western understanding of pyramid construction for over 2,000 years. It was never based on any Egyptian source. It was a tourist account, repeated to a foreign writer 2 millennia after the fact. The workers' village at Giza, known as Hayt el Ghurab, was excavated by American archaeologist Mark Lehner, beginning in the late 1980s. in partnership with Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. It was not a slave camp. It was a purpose-built urban settlement with housing galleries sized for rotating worker teams, industrial-scale bakeries, breweries, organized storage, and medical facilities. Workers who died during the project were buried in organized cemeteries near the pyramids. Their skeletons show evidence of surgical bone repairs that healed completely, meaning injured workers received treatment and returned to work. Slaves in the ancient world were not given that level of care. The workforce was divided into large units called files, subdivided into smaller gangs that named themselves and recorded those names in graffiti, scratched onto stones, now buried inside the pyramid. Friends of Khufu. Drunkards of Menkaure. These were teams with identities and a documented sense of belonging to something larger than a single workday. Each gang tracked their own output and measured their standing against the others. Marir's diary confirmed what the physical archaeology had been assembling for decades. Stone moved by boat. Workers rotated through organized shifts. Materials tracked by literate officials with accounting records and supply lines stretching hundreds of kilometers. The operation ran with administrative sophistication that modern project managers would recognize immediately. What the diary does not contain is a single line of engineering instruction. It tells you the stone moved and names the people who moved it. It does not explain how 80-ton granite slabs were fitted to sub-millimeter tolerances inside a structure being built at 1 block every 3 minutes. That gap between what we know happened and how exactly it was executed is where the real unresolved question lives. And it is the same question every serious analysis of this subject keeps arriving back at. Verdict 2. Confirmed facts sit at the center of everything. The people who built the Great Pyramid were Egyptian workers, compensated, medically cared for, organized into named teams, and thoroughly documented in their own handwriting. The engineering they produced contains precision and logistical achievement that peer-reviewed literature in 2026 still classifies as not fully explained, not impossible, not supernatural, not fully explained. Hidden rooms confirmed by particle physics, stellar alignment, consistent across 3 pyramids, built decades apart to 1 millimeter per meter accuracy. A construction pace of 1 block every 3 minutes, sustained for over 20 years. A logistics supervisor's daily work log sitting in a Cairo museum, naming the half-brother of the pharaoh as the man running the harbor. The large void above the Grand Gallery has never been entered. No photograph exists of its interior. The vaulted north face corridor is sealed and undisturbed. The next generation of scanning tools will be more precise than anything used today, and researchers are already planning how to deploy them. The most studied building in human history still has rooms no human has entered in 4,500 years. The stone is still talking. We are just now learning how to listen. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.